It's Friday, and I'm back with the next in our Fanzine Friday series. We're taking a look at the Oracle number 2. Please stick around. I'm AZ Mountaineer, and this is our channel, Old School Rules, where we celebrate the community of old school gamers and grognards who like classic RPGs, miniatures, magazines, and everything that goes with it. Each week on the Fanzine Friday series, I take a fanzine from my collection off the shelf for a closer look. And today we continue our look at a fanzine called The Oracle. Today we're looking at the Oracle number 2 from September of 1982. Hope you enjoy the video. So we mentioned last week that the Oracle is really the product of one person. It's a high school student named Chris Bigelow, lived out in the state of Utah. And again, here on his page where he lists his staff, he's got the same thing. He's got a number of friends from his gaming group who he said really didn't do much, and some pseudonyms of people that are him, and he just made up extra names to make it look like he's got this big staff working on his fanzine. Really exciting to talk about this. There's just everything that's good about the hobby, and the excitement that the players had is present in this. So here it is. It's the size we're used to. This is really just, it's sort of a heavier paper, but it's the same, the cover and the pages all throughout, a couple of staples. And if you can see here, it's sort of a brown color to the paper this time around. Let's start off by taking a look at the artwork. And this is Barbara LaPlaca. And he talks in this book, and I mentioned, I'll repeat today, that there's a hardbound book that was put out much more recently, and it's an anthology or compilation. It has the 5 published issues of the Oracle. It has the sort of called the unpublished 6th issue of the Oracle, some essays, some modern discussions from him, hand-drawn notes, copies of letters to and from TSR, and all that kind of thing. But he mentions that he made friends with someone in New York City, which he thought was super exciting. And he says, I don't think this guy knew I was a teenager. And he was interested in contributing, and he had some friends who were artists, and he convinced them to work with him. I think he was paying them for their art, because he mentions that the art sort of started eating into his budget. If you remember, he was already giving out a free TSR module to subscribers. He's getting it wholesale, but still, it took about a third of the subscription cost. Had some advertising costs, now he had art costs, and even though he did all the work and used his father's sort of equipment and word processor and so forth, he said it was not really making him much money. So here's the art, and this is actually, I guess we'll call it a wraparound cover. So I'll pull back here, and you can see the whole thing. It's, I think, maybe a werewolf, some type of wolf-like creature down here, and then it looks like it's in, I'm going to say, a temple or some type of building like that. And he said people wrote in and criticized, if you see the fold line, he sort of cut the head off, so really the expressive front part of the face is on the back cover, and you don't even see it when you look at the cover straight on. It's sort of like, I don't really even know what I'm looking at here. Here's our table of contents. He's got the information about, again, the team and how to make your subscriptions and how that all works. His notice where he tells you how to make sure you know when your subscription is going to come due. His editorial, readers writing, which is letters column, mention of the dungeon contest. We won't take a look at that. It's the same as last time. He's just telling you that he's running a D&D dungeon contest, and you're going to get some monetary prizes if you are first, second, or third place. Reader ideas, ready-made NPCs, fantasy cinema review. He did this last time. He talks about some current movies, which I think are fun to remind ourselves of what was going on that year. Play-by-mail gaming. It's a Living, which is fantasy fiction. We aren't going to talk about that. I thought it was pretty so-so. Information on new gaming supplements, an article called Borderlands Gaming Publications, which we are definitely going to take a look at, and then some questions for feedback he asked at the end. In terms of contributors, Chris, of course, does the majority of the work. Ronald Mark Pehr, who did the healer class last time, has another contribution. And he has some contributions. John Nubbins and Mike Dawson provide stuff. Ken St. Andre, who did Tunnels and Trolls, writes in the letters column. I see his name a lot in terms of someone who would write into these different fanzines, as does Lee Alred. B.E. Taylor has a contribution, and then Barbara LaPlaca does the cover art. In terms of his editorial comments, I just wanted to share a little bit about that. He talks about, this comes very quickly, so he's getting back on his normal schedule here. This came out in September of '82. he said some people didn't like the fact that it was focused on Dungeons and Dragons, but he says, look, especially in the United States, there wasn't as much, I don't think, a presence of RuneQuest, for example. He said that's really the main game. That's what people want, so that's what we focused on. He asked if people want to do sort of a product swap listing where you could try to engage in some trading. Talks about whether or not you should have a question and answer column where he basically would pose a question in one issue, and then next issue or the next issue, like he would publish responses or thoughts right from the readers about that topic or question, and tells people about all the big things that are to come. I love this guy's positivity. The reader writings are letters from readers and just comments. So here's Lee Alred, who's from Utah, who was amazed something from Utah was getting published, and said basically the content's good, the art was bad, but for a #1 issue, this is really, really good stuff. And then the second thing is Ken St. Andre, and he really wrote in because he was involved as an author of the game Stormbringer, which got a review. And even though it was basically a positive review, Ken wants to point out sort of just what was going on behind the scenes, why they made certain decisions, and so forth. They were sort of responding to the parts of the review that were critical. Reader ideas. So this is B.E. Taylor, and he's got new magic items. These are Orlon's oculars, and these are basically not eyepieces, but eyeball. It's like you could put in place of your eyeball. And so they're pretty cool. One of them is the Ocular of Curing, and it basically gives you certain cure light wounds, critical wounds, cure insanity, blindness, disease, so many times, so many per day, so many per week, so many per month. The Ocular of Sight basically will give you, if you're blind, it would give you sight, and no matter what, it will give you infravision. You can use your eyes to charm somebody once a week, like a charm person spell. And then sort of the ability to see really small things and to see really far away, like an eagle. The next one is, but you have to cover the other eye. You can't have that and your good eye working at the same time, or it can cause insanity. The Ocular of Fire is bright red, and it doesn't give you sight, but it gives you fire-based powers, produce flame, pyrotechnics, fireball, affect normal fire, and wall of flame, so many times per day, week, month. The Ocular of Death is a cursed magic item. It's black, so there's a clue, and it grafts itself in instantly and very painfully. And then basically every day you save versus death magic, and if you fail to save, you take a die 10 of hit point damage. Just, until you get it out by painful force or a remove curse spell. And he gives a little bit of background about the guy, Orlon the Wizard, who made these. But I think it's pretty good stuff. And then the other item, we get over here to the other item that we have, which is a monster idea from Clifford Hurst called the Yawtl, Y-A-W-T-L. And he said they are humanoid, but with fox-like appendage, like fox face, fur, tail. And they're basically, mischievous in thieving. And they're going to be an NPC character. Okay. So Ronald Mark Pehr, who's an actual other person besides Chris, has this article, Ready-Made NPCs. And basically, he just has a list of NPCs. It's more for OD&D, but he's got fighter and thief types in here. And then he has spell casting types, which are mostly magic users, and I think one or two are clerics. But they're really good. He not only gives you the stats and their weapons or magic items or whatever it is they carry, but it'll just, 4 sentences about the person. And so just a really good thing for a DM to have if you're looking for just sort of like an early version of the Rogues Gallery, early version of, some different NPCs to take a look at. So the cinema, which is nothing to throw pulling, but is fun reminder of the time. And he's now, like last month he liked E.T. and Wrath of Khan. Now he's not so loving them because now he loves Blade Runner and Road Warrior and Mad Max, I believe. Whoops. And so he talks about these movies, tells you why he likes them so much. And then the third movie that he really likes is called The Secret of NEM. And if you don't remember that animated movie, it's really good. There was a book that was popular at the time. It's a really, really good movie. I'd highly recommend it. So now Dave Parsons, which is Chris' pseudonym, is just talking about play-by-mail gaming, and he talks about Star Ventures, also mentions Beyond the Stellar Empire and Tribes of Crane, and basically tells you why he likes them, how they work, how often they get back to you, sort of what it's like to play in those games. Gaming supplements. So this is new stuff, right? So on the left we have Dragon Tree Press's Monster File #1. I'll put a card up here. I did a review of that item. It's a really cool early third-party item. It's basically like index-size cards with a drawing on the front and on the back stats. So you could show the picture, and it's always good, right, to have new monsters that your characters have never met before. And then 2 TSR modules, The Lost Caverns of Sojkanth by Gary Gygax. High quality module, and he agrees with that. It's really, really good. Most of Gary's stuff was pretty good. And then The Lost City by Tom Moldvay. He liked it, but said it was more of a good module, but not like awesome. Borderlands is a new product for RuneQuest. He says not to be confused with Keep on the Borderlands, right? And so he gives a review of Borderlands and basically says if you're playing RuneQuest, if you're in Gloranthan campaign setting, he thinks it's a really, really good one. And now we have a discussion of some publications, or as I like to say, fanzines. So The Abyss, which is from the United States, and that's David, I think his name is Nolly, did that one, 50-some issues. I've got most of those. We'll take a look at it at some point. Pretty good stuff, and ran for quite a while. And they did other things too, his company, Ragnarok Enterprises. And then the other one is Phantasy with a PH. And it's more, he says it's not as good, but it has potential. And so he said, I'm sort of waiting to see how this one comes along. And that one is from, Fantasy was produced from Connecticut. And Evan Skolnick was the editor of Fantasy. And finally, we have the feedback column here. And he gives the response to last week's, like, what did you like? And I think the thing people like the most, they like the healer class, they like the Justice Be Done article, and the reader ideas. Mostly, 6s and 7s, but, maybe that's slanted because that's who wrote in, but in any event. And he does the same thing here. He said, I want feedback on our art, all the different columns and so forth. And I think at least he was getting feedback every issue on what people liked or didn't like, and that was going to guide him. As he said, he was going to make this fantastic, big professional magazine. So he was going about it the right way. Just really, really impressive. Okay, that does it for The Oracle, #2, from September of 1982. This is a really fun fanzine, and again, I just could not be more enthusiastic to look at this product. I think he was like a junior, so he's probably 16, 17 years old when he comes up with this idea and he executes on it. And we'll mention as we get further along. It doesn't last for long like a lot of these. Life happens. He becomes a senior in high school, and that's sort of the end of the run of The Oracle. But it's really fun stuff. Hope you guys are enjoying the videos. Hope you enjoy the series, and I hope you're subscribed. If you have friends who might enjoy the content, please send them our way, and hopefully they will be subscribers as well. And until next time, my friends, keep rolling 20s.